vision. We're going to continue our conversations about how BSV can make better payments in the world with a panel of various companies operating in this space. It'll be moderated by Patrick Thompson, the CoinGeek Associate Editor for North America. Joining him on the panel will be, again, Lorian Gamaroff, who you just saw, and a new face to many of you in the BSV ecosystem, coming to us from India. He just arrived overnight, thankfully got his passport to be able to arrive. He is the founder and CEO of companies called Block Review and Chainscript Labs. It's Kumaraguru Ramanujam. And from Switzerland, he is the general manager and chairman of Chanti, Bernhard Miller, and from Spain, many of you know him from his years at Handcash with Alex Agut. He is the CTO, Rafa Jimenez Seban. Please welcome them to the stage.
So good morning, and welcome to day 2 of the Global Blockchain Convention. My name is Patrick Thompson, and I am the Associate Editor of CoinGeek in North America. And today we'll be talking about payments on Bitcoin and blockchain. Before I introduce the guests, I just want to talk about why that's such an important topic. So in the Bitcoin white paper, it's described as peer-to-peer electronic cash, showing that payments are one of the first and earliest use cases. But since then, it's evolved, where in the banking and finance system, things like central bank digital currencies, Federal Reserve digital currencies are being explored, which shows that there's value in using either Bitcoin or blockchain to clear and settle payments. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let the guests introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their companies, and we'll start with Rafa.
Thank you, Patrick. Good morning. I'm Rafa Jimenez. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Handcash, which is the Metaverse wallet. So we have this wallet for consumers so they can interact with the ecosystem that we are building, as well as an SDK, so any app or game can integrate payments with just a few lines of code.
Good morning, Dubai. My name is Bernhard Müller. I'm the general manager of Chanti, and we're a payment processing focused company from Switzerland. We also have an app, and we allow merchants to create their own spaces, to collaborate in these spaces, replace paper economy with digital economy, and happy to talk about today on this panel.
Sabah Al Khair, good morning. My name is Kumaraguru. I'm the founder and CEO of MoneySwipe. We are a remittance company. What we do is we help individuals send money back home to their loved ones with low cost and high efficiency, using, of course, BSV blockchain.
Lorian from Sempi.
So I want to start like this. I think a lot of people wonder, if we have something like credit cards and debit cards and cash, why might we want to use a blockchain-based payment system? What are the advantages of using something like that compared to legacy finance and banking? And on top of that, how are the users of your different payment apps kind of taking advantage of the sort of benefits that come along with it? And Lorian, we're going to begin with you there.
Well, primarily it's that low-cost nature of Bitcoin SV payments, and of course, the inherent capabilities for traceability. So our users find it, something that's it's very easy to make small, casual payments, and I think that's the real killer of Bitcoin, and so. As long as we can make it accessible to them and give them a good experience, and try and improve upon the current apps out there and the businesses, we're all sort of stuck in this legacy banking thing where the apps that are available to young people today are so complex and boring. It's so important, even if it wasn't Bitcoin, to still try and create an experience that young people, I think, want to use. We've been always focused on making Sempi, nice and fun and social as well. So, that low-cost nature, the accessibility, and trying to create a beautiful experience, I think is really going to be compelling for young people.
And Kumar, what about you?
Primarily our users are people who are living abroad, who are making a living abroad, and they want to send money back home. They're looking for ways to send it cheaper, most cost effectively. Right now what's happening is usually when they send money to a bank, it goes to a money changer, it takes a couple of hops, then it gets to them. So this is very expensive. With Bitcoin SV, what we have is we truly have peer-to-peer transfer. We have transfer of settlement on Bitcoin layer, and if jurisdictions allow, we can actually do the transfer of value via Bitcoin. This is going to save a lot of time and money. Look, the IMF is estimated close to 7% for every transaction is taken by the banks and the money changers. With the peer-to-peer transfer, the transfer happens instantly for 1/100th of a cent. So that's how cheap we can get by having remittances on blockchain.
And Bernard, what about you?
So we've heard a lot of talk about cash also yesterday from Jimmy. So why is that actually important? It's important because a cash transaction has legally another nature than a debit or credit transaction. You don't have this three-party system. So not only you usually have less parties taking fees, there's also regulatory benefits of directly transferring versus going through third parties. And so what's the benefit on the merchant side? Clearly you can save a lot of fees. On the consumer side, you can save a lot of hassle with actually signing up for an app. And also, of course, we have attractive promotions that can be collected directly on the wallet. We hear a bit later about the direct payment protocol, which enables really things that the technology we have today in e-commerce payments, which is really from the 60s and then patched up a few times up to 3D secure and CVV codes and so on. You just have a lot of steps at checkout, and Bitcoin really allows payments for the young generation. I always talk about instant gratification, right? You can make a payment, bang, it's accepted, and I get access to the content, or I get shipped the product, or whatever it is I want to access without 20 clicks in a checkout process.
And Rafa, before we jump to you, I think Kumar said something really important. He talked about remittances. And I think that's one area of payments where if you're doing it in a legacy system, the fees that come along with that are just so large and cut into the amount of value being sent back and forth that it really takes away from what you're trying to deliver from point A to point B. That being said, are there certain regions of the world where maybe you see something like blockchain-based remittance payments really picking up traction? And are there maybe different states, different parts of the world where you're interested in using payments in a way like that?
Yeah, for us, for Hanka, it was very clear from the very beginning that the most important feature of Bitcoin, it was small payments. Basically, credit cards, they are great. I use mine all day. But they are not native for the internet. We never had that technology. There was always a gap there, and now this is what we have with Bitcoin. So it's basically having the capability for small payments, instant, cross-border. You have everything there. For us, what we also find there is that enables for new business models, for new ways of monetizing, for new ways of interacting. And this is what we just try to offer to companies. We try to make it as convenient as possible for them, as well as for users. Because somehow there's this thing with that crypto has to be really, really hard, but actually it doesn't. So we have to unlock the power of this technology.
Just to add to Rafa's statement there, see, according to the IMF, close to 15 to 20% is the rate people are paying in destination where the local banking system is not robust. Look at the change BSV could bring there. Of course, a colleague here is doing a lot in this space in Africa. So I think 1/100th of a cent and 15 to 20% of a transaction, I don't have to say more.
I think you make a really good point there, and I'm going to talk about that next, because on the BSV blockchain, where the transaction fees are a fraction of a penny, and I could send a penny to you, and you can't do that in other payment systems, what kind of opportunities or new business models has that created? And Rafa, I want to start with you there.
Yeah, for us, as I said, it's all about unlocking new business model based on small payments and a lot of volume. So far, we found some very interesting things, like Haste was on stage yesterday. They have this new model of instant leaderboard payout, where gamers are just paying per play, and that money is split automatically among up to 1,000 participants. With just a small payment, up to 1,000 participants, that's crazy. So this is changing how people compete for games, because you have that incentive, that fun of being in the high score, because then everybody playing the game is gonna pay you just one tiny amount. So this is not about making money, this is about changing how we interact. And then another very interesting thing that we're seeing is the convenience of, for gaming in general. The legacy method is you have to deposit money to play, but then you end up having like $10 in one game, $5 in another game, $5 in another game. And with Handcast, all the magic happens because you have one single wallet that you can connect to different services, different games, different apps. And these services have the ability to trigger the payment as they need it. So this is extremely convenient for them, because what normally happens is you need to apply for licenses, you need to make sure that you are securing the money, because they have to take the money. With Handcast and with this system, you don't have to deposit the money. You just trigger the payment. It's peer-to-peer, it's instant, and you have the best of all worlds. You have convenience, and also you have fast payments, because otherwise you have to implement everything by yourself.
And Bernard, what about you? What kind of new either business opportunities or even consumer-facing things or enterprise-facing things have you seen that were made possible by the ability to move money at lightning speed at a fraction of a penny?
Yes, so we already heard about micropayments, which are also very important in, let's say, traditional business cases. We're targeting specifically here, for example, the media industry, where we all know these paywalls that we're hitting more and more, and a lot of us consume news through news aggregators, such as Google News, for example. And Google News knows exactly our niche interests, and you hit a lot of news articles from, let's say, a local newspaper from somewhere else, because Google knows, oh, you're now interested about mountain biking specifically, yeah? And they had an article. I would never be in the range to actually subscribe to that newspaper because I'm from another area, but if I have a niche interest, I'm willing to pay, and I'm willing to make that payment to get access directly to content. And with credit card processing, it's often just literally not feasible, because they already take 10 to 20 cents just as a base fee, plus the percentage. Now, other things we can enable is the money can flow both ways, right? If somebody that pays gives their pay mail address while they're paying, we can then again send back attractive promotions, vouchers, loyalty points, and so on to these people. And this is exactly what Chanti enables our merchants to do. They can set up their own digital loyalty points, voucher, promotional schemes. They can set up directly on which basis such promotions are triggered, and people get sent back something. We can even now, with the new direct payment protocol, have combined payments. So a merchant can, of course, automatically offer discrete options how to pay, and this can be a combination of $100, or you pay $80 and a 20% vouchers. And this can all happen in the very same payment. You can invoice it at the same time, and this enables to do schemes that before, again, used to, I need to enter coupon codes in checkouts and so on. It's automatically done for you. Your app shows you the option you actually have available based on your balances, and then you choose how you want to pay. Usually it's just one option, but it could be several.
So we just talked about a couple business models that haven't been possible before, and why haven't we seen these in other areas? Why haven't we seen maybe people in the legacy system or in some other location sending fractions of a penny or enabling these new opportunities? Lorian, what do you think about that?
Well, until BSV, it was never possible to do that. And now these opportunities are certainly opening up. And I think that, of course, when we look at the whole nature of blockchain, really the whole vision was diverted for the last 10 years. and it stopped being about payments, unfortunately, and so we've been held back for the last 10 years. But of course now with BSV reinvigorating this idea that, and bringing back the original vision that this is a low-cost payment system, now we can start seeing companies like Handcash who are really capitalizing on that very low payment, microtransaction, nano-transaction perhaps, with those business models. So it's really just a function of the fact that we haven't really been looking at this for the last 10 years, but now we finally, now that it's back, able to do that.
And I want to unpack that a little more too. So Kumar, what are your thoughts on what, I guess under the hood, what needs to take place for these opportunities to exist? Because we don't see this in other places.
With blockchain industry in general, we are happy blaming the regulators. I think that doesn't need to be the case. We can work with the regulators. See, blockchain enables both front-end and back-end systems. Right now, there's a regulatory sandbox happening in India. The RBI has opened up a regulatory sandbox. They do not want settlements on the blockchain, but they're happy to work with the blockchain companies to bring in much-needed efficiency. This is a UN sustainability goal to bring down the cost of remittance to close to about 3% from 7% right now. We can do that even without settling on Bitcoin. We can use Bitcoin on the back end as a bridge currency with a stable coin on top of BSV, where we can have instant settlements. We could do the same with front end. And for jurisdictions where they allow settlement, we can have instant peer-to-peer transfer. And we can enable what Craig White's always talking about, right? I want to send money back home to my loved one so that they can have their next meal. I can do it instantly. See, the payment experience from domestic to international, there's a big gap. So this, I think, BSV can solve, and can solve it today, even if the regulators are not cooperating.
And each of your businesses uniquely uses payments. And I guess similar to how there's different computer programming languages, I think there's sort of different ways payments could be used, or maybe I'd even say different payment protocols. So Bernard, what are your thoughts on that, and what are some different ways that you've seen people implement payments in that regard?
Well, what I, of course, would wish is that, we standardize the way we do payments on Bitcoin SV, and because it allows to jumpstart a business a lot easier. Let's say, our merchants accept payments. I can tell them, hey, there are 100,000 Handcash users already today. There's so many Sempi users, there's so many whatever users, and it's all compatible. It, of course, also, if you're using such standards, you're also opening yourself for competition, of course. You need to stay best in class because you're not in the position to just, have your customers, have your market, and they can't go anywhere else. They know they could go somewhere else, but in standardizing, we really allow the whole ecosystem to connect together, and it will be much easier for new companies to also start to integrate. And what we've done with the direct payment protocol is we built this on the shoulder of giants. There was a BIP 270 for the nerds in the room before, and it's basically just an extension of that to allow more features and functions, also to integrate very well with other technical standards that were defined, such as, for example, the travel rule standard. So shall my users ever want to remit to Africa, and it's a cross-border payment, there such things become important. So we really try to make this standard future-proof and well integrated with all the other TSC standards.
And I'm going to go down the line with this question here, Lori, and we'll begin with you. But why should investors in the Middle East be paying attention to BSV payment solutions like each of yours?
Well, BSV provides a unique opportunity to be able to create payment solutions, but of course, it's not just about payments. There's the whole data aspect of it as well. But to fully understand and realize that this is not and never was intended to be something that was out of control. BSV is something that it is highly transparent. It can certainly be regulated, and we're seeing that in some countries right now, and can create new opportunities for businesses to provide services that require low-cost payments. This is a unique opportunity right now, especially since the BSV blockchain has really demonstrated robust resilience and capabilities, that only now are being realized as businesses and enterprises are starting to jump onto it. So I certainly would encourage investors, businesses to get rid of the whole false narratives around what blockchain has become, and unfortunately in this whole cryptocurrency thing, and really look at the capabilities of this unique network that certainly is going to not only enhance the internet, but replace much of how it works and make it more reliable, make it empower the world that only the innovators and entrepreneurs really are seeing right now. So absolutely forget what you've heard about crypto, because that is not what we're talking about here, and really see the vision of a new data network that makes micropayments possible, and is going to create new business models and make old business models not obsolete, but perhaps refresh them and make them work better.
And Kumar, what about you? Why should companies and investors in the Middle East be paying attention to BSV payment solutions like yours?
GCC is one of the top outward remitters in the whole world in terms of the amount of money they send. GCC has a big expat population. So we see this difference in domestic payments and international payments. GCC has this opportunity right now to bridge that gap using Bitcoin SV. We might say again, the regulatory landscape is not there right now, but that's not the case. BSV can be used both in the front end and back end systems. So enabling BSV as a settlement layer or as a bridge asset, we can fill that gap in terms of international cross-border payments and domestic payment right now.
Bernard?
Yeah, I think the attention should be paid to the capabilities besides also micropayments. Of course, BSV really is an infrastructure, and there are some really interesting companies building on this infrastructure and enabling businesses and revenue growth that wasn't really possible before. In our case, that's the digitization of basically paper workflows and being able to do sort of closed loop and semi-closed loop payments in resorts, festivals, events, and so on, without the need for dedicated and expensive hardware you need to specifically rent for a certain time. And last but not least, of course, I know there are also a lot of investors coming from the Middle East in general, and there are, of course, a lot of interesting investment opportunities in this space.
And Rafa, what about you?
Yeah, for me it's very clear. We have the best payment system ever, and no fees, cross-border, instant. I think that's amazing, and there's no doubt about that. So the actual question is, which is the right company that you should invest in? So I would like to invite you to come to talk to us, all of our companies, understand what we're trying to do, different industries, different use cases, and just identify something that you think is good for society, for prosperity, or something that you're just passionate about, and we would like, more than happy to have you on board.
And let's see if we can get one or two more questions in here. So I'm wondering, we'll start with you, Rafa. What's next for Handcash? What are you guys working on? What can we expect to see in the future, and what should we keep an eye out for?
Yeah, for us, it's all about making this technology more accessible, unlocking the potential, more use cases, helping businesses. There's something coming in the where, beyond what the bombs that Alex dropped yesterday. There's something coming in the next few weeks. Imagine I'm this handsome, young entrepreneur from North America trying to sell some coffee. So this is what we call payment links. With Handcash Connect, this SDK that you can use to integrate in-app payments, it's really nice for payments that are very frequent. But if you want something that is more around casual payments, we found that there's some gap there, and this is what payment links are coming for help. So basically, you can define up to 1,000 recipients, You can customize the checkout experience, adding some avatar picture, some description of the payment, and that's it. And you can share the link everywhere, social media, email, any messaging app. The payment experience is going to be very cool. I want to leave that as a surprise. But you, Patrick, could just start creating your own link, just share it anywhere, and you can customize it. You can receive an email every time a payment is completed successfully. And also, this is very cool for developers. You have webhooks. So, you know, with webhooks, you have your custom notifications, so you can trigger any other process in your business. You can process the checkout. You can process the shipping. You can do everything. So we're very happy to bring that to the to companies.
And Bernard, what about you and the team at Chanti?
Yes, so Chanti has been building a lot of technology in the last 2 years and also getting all the regulatory layout possible. So we actually now made the first revenue this month, and what you can expect in the next weeks and months to come is we'll have an announcement about the first integration with a payment service provider in Switzerland, where we're going to be really integrated in the regular checkout processes. And then also we're now having a lot of very interesting workshops with prospects in the event industry, because we focused really on being a good solution for events, trade fairs, and so on and so forth, where, you know, a lot of small payments happen and where people usually struggle. And there we found some very interesting companies to collaborate with, and I expect that, you know, you're going to see the first event powered by Chanti very soon, actually.
And Kumar, what about you and your team?
We are focusing primarily on India. India is, of course, the largest remittance destination. What we are trying to build is we are trying to work with the regulator there. We are engaging legal counsels. We want to get into the RBI regulatory sandbox there. We want to design a system which is regulator-friendly now, not tomorrow. That's what we're working on. Of course, we have UK as the destination, UK-India corridor. We are looking at the US-India corridor. Of course, GCC is a big market. Philippines is a big market that we want to look at. We are ideally looking at getting a product out by end of this year between UK and India.
And Lorian, what about you and the team at Sempi?
So we are going to continue to pursue this idea of Bitcoin SV as a cash system for young people. Our market is absolutely teenagers and young adults, and so we want as many ways for them to be able to spend their Bitcoin SV and also be able to load their wallet with Bitcoin SV. But Sempi is still not fully realized. The idea there is that, you know, we think of Sempi as a social network app, and the medium is money instead of photos or anything like that. So we still will have a lot of social network elements that we are, since the beginning, we've been wanting to bring into Sempi. So it's more ways to spend, more ways to top up your wallet with Bitcoin, and then of course now remittance as well, being able to terminate and send money to all our African countries at first, but hopefully one day, you know, the world. So we've got a big job ahead of us. We're bold and we're ambitious, and we think that we can do it, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Nice. That being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank these guys for hopping on the panel, sharing their insights when it comes to payments. These guys are brilliant. They're really leaders in the space when it comes from sending money from point A to point B. So I recommend, if you see these guys outside and you're talking about either consumer-facing payments or payments for enterprises, these are the people you want to be talking to. So thank you.
Thank you.